Well, like most conservatives in America and certainly in the media, Scott Jennings has had enough. He had quite a day yesterday on CNN. And actually, we're going to chart his entire cycle on CNN yesterday on the air and show you how he gets more fed up and more fed up before finally at night, well, you'll see the inevitable explosion. Because, he likes to tell the truth. And that network, well, it's kind of challenging. So Scott Jennings, you'll see it coming up in just a second. Also, Kash Patel with an incredible day on Capitol Hill yesterday in the Senate. And he may have actually exposed Cory Booker for breaking the law. We'll show you that, and we'll let you be the judge on it coming up in just a second. Also, what was the other one? Yes. An ABC News reporter fashions himself a gay romance novelist. And instead of telling the truth about Charlie Kirk's assassin, he decided to come up with some whole romance storyline. And then he had to apologize, sort of, but he didn't actually apologize. We'll get to that and a whole lot more coming up right now. My name's Larry O'Connor. You can call me Larry. Don't forget to give us a like right now. That helps boost our show, as you know. That's how these things work. So like our video and subscribe if you haven't already to whatever platform you're watching us on. We would love for you to be part of our ongoing family here. And make sure you hit the alert bell because we don't always start our show at the exact same time. In fact, this Friday, we're going to have an early start, and you're going to want to get notified about that. So make sure you hit the alerts. And finally, in the comment section or in the live chat, don't forget to tell us how you found out about the show. It helps us with our marketing, with our how we build our sponsorship base as well. And we really appreciate it. Again, all those things I just asked you to do, totally free. So why not? Just do it. Oh, and speaking of sponsors, super excited to tell you about a brand new one here. It's Lean from Brickhouse Nutrition. Now, if you are like me, you care about your health and you want to be around, and you know that losing weight is the best way to stay healthy and be around for your kids and your grandkids, maybe even your great-grandkids, and certainly for your husband or for your wife, right? You want to live your life to its fullest, and that's harder to do when you're overweight. And I don't know about you, but over the years, I've tried to lose weight various ways and various times. You lose 20 pounds, and then you gain 25 pounds, and then you lose 30 pounds, and then you gain back 40 pounds. And believe it or not, that cycle is actually more unhealthy than most of your weight issues, constantly losing and gaining and losing and gaining. It's not good. Doctors call it weight cycling. Half of Americans do it. You're probably one of them. And if you do it enough, you're at risk of diabetes and liver damage, heart attack, stroke. It ain't good. Weight cycling is when you lose that weight, 10 or more pounds, and then you end up gaining it back in a short amount of time. And it leads to serious health issues. I don't want that to happen to you. And that's why I'm really excited to recommend Lean to you. And I want you to know that everything that's inside these little capsules, it's natural stuff. It's an American product. It's made here and it's shipped from here. It's an American company. They're great guys. I've met them. I've talked to them. They know their stuff. It's full of ingredients that have been studied and tested. They target your weight loss in 3 very powerful ways. Lean helps maintain healthy blood sugar, which is incredibly important and keeps that blood sugar right where it needs to be and controlled. It also helps control appetite and cravings, and it also gives you more energy. I can tell you that firsthand. I've been taking Lean for about a week now. My cravings are totally under control, and it's a lot safer, by the way, than those injections. It's safer for you, and frankly, who wants to stick a needle in their stomach every day? No, just 3 capsules here. Also, by the way, Lean helps burn fat by converting it into energy, and burning fat helps take the weight off. So I want you to try this stuff. Lose weight, meaningful weight, the healthy way, the good way, the safe way. You see the QR codes on the screen right now. Go ahead, fly on in there with the QR codes, and you're going to get 20% off when you enter my name, Larry. Or go to takelean.com and use code Larry. That's takelean.com and use the code Larry. You'll get 20% off, and tell us your results. Tell you how you like it. I really want to hear back from you. Thank you for that. And thank you, Lean and Brickhouse Nutrition. Friend of this program, Scott Jennings, has reached the end of the rope, I think. He's just done. His patience is worn thin. We've been waiting for this moment, right? He's got the patience of Job. Well, we're going to go on a little journey with Scott Jennings yesterday on various programs on CNN where he tried to do one simple thing: tell the truth. And the gaslighting that he was confronted with was unbelievable. We'll start with this one. One of my favorite gaslights of the past week when we talk about political violence in America has been all these people saying, well, look at Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania. His home got torched, right? So it's on both sides of the equation. See, because Josh Shapiro is a Democrat. What they leave out is the fact that Josh Shapiro's home was burned down by an anti-Israeli, anti-Semitic, pro-Palestinian dirtbag. And of course, Josh Shapiro is Jewish. But even Josh Shapiro doesn't say this out loud. I'll explain why he doesn't in a sec. But here's Scott Jennings speaking truth to idiots.
Jennings, I will note that the governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, was someone who, when President Trump, somebody, was hit by a bullet in Butler, Pennsylvania, Shapiro stood up and denounced it in a clear, unequivocal way. Now he's saying we do the same thing here. Do you think that he has got a point?
Well, I think his point would be strengthened if he were honest today about who burned his house down. It was a Free Palestine leftist who came and burned down the governor's mansion. He left that out. He left that out of his tweet today. And he's talking about cherry picking political violence. And we're talking about where there might be political violence. The violence against the governor of Pennsylvania and his family came from the left. And so I think there's a rush by Democrats who want to be president in 2028 to try to turn. Somehow Donald Trump's friend gets shot and now everybody wants to blame Donald Trump for it. I guess that's what you have to do to get elected president as a Democrat.
We are not doing that sitting here. Okay. And Kate, please go ahead.
Is that not what's happening? People are pointing.
The governor's point is it doesn't matter where the violence came from.
I think it might. Shouldn't it matter the motivations of the people?
It should be condemned regardless. Is the entire point of his speech.
Don't you care about the motivations?
To sit here and suggest that somehow him not mentioning it was some sort of sleight of hand.
Of course it is.
Try to make it seem like it was.
I don't think his political party would accept it.
You missed the entire point of what he was saying, and it's a message that's badly needed in this country at this moment.
Look, I think that if we cannot be honest, if I were him and somebody tried to burn my house down, I think I'd be honest about who did it and why they did it. And it would matter for people to know that, would it not?
Scott, is this not a let's rise above because anyone that is committing an act of political violence who is trying to kill someone else for what they believe in, it's like it is inherently wrong and awful?
Why are your two impulses mutually exclusive? Why can't we all say all political violence is bad, which I wholeheartedly believe, and also be honest when people have clear intentions? I think there's a difference between people that have clear intentions and, clearly deranged people. But in the case of Shapiro, and I think in the case of Charlie Kirk, we know the intentions, the political intentions of the people at play. And
all right, I'm going to let him finish, but I just want to jump in here and give a little bit of commentary because it's critically important. First of all, why doesn't Josh Shapiro just emphatically say, yeah, my house, I was targeted because I'm a pro-Israeli Jewish governor, and my mansion was targeted because of that by this anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas terrorist? Why can't he say that? You know why, right? Because he's a Democrat and he wants to be president. The reason Kamala Harris didn't choose him to be his running mate was because he's Jewish. And, he's a little too friendly with Israel, and that'll anger the base. If he wants a political future in the Democrat Party the way it is currently constituted, he cannot vociferously condemn the pro-Hamas dirtbags, even the guy who tried to murder him and his family. And that's the reality of where we are right now. And this whole idea is like, well, shouldn't we just condemn all violence? It's funny. Meredith and I have a running joke. My wife, Meredith, and I have a running joke in the family here. If I do something stupid, if I, let's say I drop a glass of wine on our carpet, right? And there's like a big wine spill and a stain on the carpeting. And we're both frantically trying to clean it up and keep the wine from staining. I use this as an example because it's a regular situation. I'm a sloppy drunk. Anyway, we're cleaning up the wine and I'll look at Meredith and I'll say, and she'll give me a look and I'll say, all right, now let's not get bogged down in who's to blame here. Let's not get distracted by pointing fingers. Let's just solve the problem. We say that as a joke because it's obvious that I'm going to be the first one to say, all right, now let's not get bogged down by assigning blame. That's a waste of time to deflect the fact that I'm to blame. And that's what you're seeing right here. Or let's not get tawdry and bogged down and pointing fingers of blame here. There's enough to go around, right? It's just condemn violence, period. Because, you know, that's literally an amoral statement. I condemn violence. You have shown no moral clarity at all. You have not even taken a moral stand. You have merely made a statement that you don't like violence because it's destructive. That's it. But this wasn't just random violence. It's funny. During Black Lives Matter, right? If you dared to stand up and say, well, how about all lives matter? How dare you? The very people at this panel who are now angry that, as Scott Jennings put it, the president's friend was murdered, and the president dares to say he was murdered because of this violent political faction in our country. They're angry at him for saying that, but those very same people would never let you say all lives matter. No. Oh, you know, we really shouldn't paint with a broad brush. Really? Last I checked, you said that we have an inherently systemic, racist criminal justice system, and you painted all cops as potential murderers. Please don't tell me that you don't engage in this. We've just lived through years of this. You just don't like the fact that now you're on the receiving end of it. Rightly so.
When we sort of skirt around it and we're not honest about it, we let it off the hook. And I don't think we should let people with clear political intentions to commit violence off the hook. And so I like what he said about condemning violence. I just would like it a little more if we could just be a little bit honest about what happened at his house.
You would just like it if a politically critical message was applied to what he was trying to say. I mean, that's what you're saying, right? You're saying you like what he said in condemning political violence across the board, but it didn't work for you because you didn't try to get in a dig at whose fault it was. The entire point is that we have to condemn political violence from all sides, in all stripes, in whatever form. And I think the fact that we are sitting here even having this conversation is deeply, deeply problematic in terms of where the temperature is in the country right now. I think the fact that you would call him dishonest.
I agree that it is problematic that a prominent Democrat cannot be honest about who tried to burn his house down. I totally agree with you about that.
Cannot be honest. As if, did he misrepresent it?
He didn't mention it and has refused to say it.
I think the only person misrepresenting what he said today, Scott Jennings, is you.
All right. So that's how Scott's day started, by the way. It got worse for him. I'll be honest, or more accurately, worse for everybody who was on the panels with him. And we're going to show it to you. But I'll give you another example. You watch any NFL game that involves the Kansas City Chiefs, and you see that the referees do whatever they can to wrap Patrick Mahomes in bubble wrap and throw their little yellow flag anytime the opposing team does anything that is even considered a minor infraction of the rules, and even more so when there are no infractions of the rules, but they're going to throw that hanky to make sure that a penalty is called to help Patrick and help the Chiefs, right? It's obvious. Everyone knows it. It's just an inherent truth. And then the refs may get a penalty wrong the other way, and they'll throw a flag on the Chiefs. And then after the game, if Andy Reid, the head coach of the Chiefs, is asked about how the refs called the game, he'll say, well, there was blame to go around. They got it wrong on both sides of the equation. And that would be true. That would be accurate. They got it wrong on both sides. They got it wrong 20 times in favor of the Chiefs and once against the Chiefs. They got it wrong both sides. There's plenty of blame to go around. That's what we're living through right now with the both sides argument. And Jennings has had enough. So watch as this panel continues.
What I am not happy about is that we have the shooter's words. We know what he put on the bullets. It's very, very clear what happened here. And there is a movement by some people to completely say, well, we have no idea.
Scott,
and we do.
Hold on. We have the floor. You can have the floor back. But here's the thing. I had to really struggle to understand all of the details that were on those bullets. They are internet memes from video games that people way younger than us play.
Casey Hunt, CNN, handsomely paid teleprompter reader, is a moron. And she just told you. She just admitted it. She's had a week to look at the evidence that we have known about this crime. And I gotta tell you, I'm stuck here. I have no idea if there was a motive here. I have no idea what those messages on the bullet casings meant. Somebody help me out here. I don't know. I guess we'll never know. And just imagine that. And I would venture to say that the vast majority of the people who are watching this program right now learned what was written on the bullet casings, and probably for 75% of the messages, you knew immediately what they were all about. For the couple of them that may have been memes, you did 1 or 2 basic searches to educate yourself, and you knew the details. Loud and clear. Casey Hunt, professional teleprompter reader for CNN, hasn't bothered to do that, and openly admitted on the set of her own show, I don't know. I struggle to figure it out. So Scott Jennings is dealing with this, right? And then it got worse. And then it got worse.
Where it starts to get concerning is when you have figures from President Trump on down who are trying to use this moment to suggest that there is inherent violence on the left, and that the government should be seeking out and rooting out these organizations, when we have no indication that this shooter acted at the behest of or through the organization of any of these groups. And I think when you start to bleed those two concepts together and create this notion that in this incredibly fraught moment in the wake of this horrific shooting, when you foment the idea that we have to be at each other's throats politically, I think that's a dangerous place to be.
Why did I do it? I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out.
So can I ask you? So
he has
Scott, just explain what you just read.
That is the message that the shooter, Tyler Robinson, sent to his roommate. That is what he said. He also engraved the word, "Hey, fascist, catch," on the bullet. For 10 years, we have heard nothing from the left but that Donald Trump is a fascist. Republicans are Nazis, authoritarians, destroy the Constitution,
but that's
bloodbath,
so
dictator for a day. And he wrote it on the bullet.
So can I ask you?
And he's been obviously marinating in some kind of information that radicalized him based on what he heard in the air in this country.
So does the shooter who assassinated Melissa Hortman, who was a stated Trump supporter, whose roommate said...
Are you trying to equate these two things?
Does he represent... Can you let me finish my thought, please?
Please.
We're talking about two people in politics who both...
I'm asking you, does that shooter represent the entirety of the MAGA movement? Of course not. I would never argue that. I don't think you would argue that. So why is it acceptable to use this moment to argue that somebody, a sick individual who committed a horrific crime,
how do you know he's sick?
Is somehow Are you here to argue for his sanity?
I'm here to argue. All I know is what the prosecutor said today. He read very lucid messages from a shooter who was motivated by political hate, who had a plan to get away with it. He did not sound like a deranged person. He sounded like someone who had decided to take it upon himself to rid the world of someone that he hated politically, that he thought that the world would be better off without that. That's different than some deranged lunatic showing up off the street.
His actions were horrific, but to assign the specific, hateful, violent, awful actions of somebody on an individual on the right or an individual on the left,
I don't know that you're right about what happened in Minnesota.
The entirety of the political conversation is incredibly dangerous and irresponsible in this moment.
Well, I think it's dangerous and irresponsible for nobody to take responsibility for 10 years of the use of the language. Fascism, Nazis, authoritarian, so on and so forth. It's on the bullet case.
I have seen nothing but Democrats in the wake of this murder saying that it was awful.
You've seen nothing?
I have seen them
literally nothing?
Elected Democrats, I have seen them saying nothing but it was horrific, that they condemn it, that they are sorry for his family, that this is an awful moment in the country. I've seen President Trump do nothing but say it was the Democrats' fault.
Yeah, but you haven't seen any of this Democrat. Again, this is amoral. I'm not saying immoral. It's amoral to say, oh, what happened here is terrible and I condemn it. But you don't go that extra step and say, and we are partly responsible for saying the things that we've been saying about Trump and Republicans and conservatives and Charlie Kirk for decades, for over a decade. That they'll never say. By the way, I do love that CNN has an analyst sitting at their panel right there, telling the jury pool in Utah that this murderer is insane. Did you catch that? She said, well, he's sick. He goes, how do you know she's sick? How do you know he's sick? And she said, oh, are you here to testify for his sanity? I'm sorry. Why are you giving him an insanity plea? Doesn't seem insane to me. He seems pretty meditated, premeditated, planned out, intelligent, coherent, cogent before, during, and after them. There's no evidence that he's insane. This is the problem in our country right now, that violence has been written off and excused in a very Marxist way, by the way, as being the direct result of two things: either economic problems and that, you know, there didn't used to be a time in Western civilization where if somebody was a thief or a rapist or a murderer or a child predator, that they say, well, you know, because of the economic conditions and the class system, you know how poor people, it's insulting to poor people, by the way, to suggest that because you don't live in a big house, you're going to go rape somebody. Or the other excuse is insanity. Well, clearly they must just be, you know, out of their heads. Somebody who would murder someone, they must be crazy. No, actually, evil people can be quite sane. Murderers are quite sane. But that's where we are in this. Oh, and then, of course, the third excuse that is a more recent one is that people commit crimes and do horrible things because, you know, there's racism in our society. After all, we had slavery 200 years ago. So what do you expect from somebody today? Which, again, by the way, is insulting. It's insulting and it's racist, by the way. But that's, again, just the early part of Scott Jennings' day. Then it came to prime time, and he had to square off with the likes of Montel Williams. And I just want to reiterate this because I've been talking about it for the whole week, but it needs to be made clear. Scott Jennings is not just some talking head on television trying to debate issues from a conservative perspective, okay? Almost every single one of us who do what we do for a living today, we knew Charlie Kirk personally, and in many respects, we're colleagues of Charlie Kirk. Both Scott Jennings and I are talk show hosts and podcasters for a company called Salem Media. Town Hall, which produces this program you're watching, is owned by Salem Media. Charlie Kirk's podcast was presented and distributed by Salem Media, and his radio show was on the Salem Radio Network. So when we have to face off against somebody like that woman on the panel, like the entire panel on CNN, and now Montel Williams, who say insulting and demeaning and horrific things about Charlie Kirk, and also try to present some sort of rationalization and excuse for his cold-blooded murderer, it goes well beyond just engaging in a political debate. You're insulting our colleague. You're insulting somebody that we knew personally who just got ripped out of our lives by an assassin's bullet motivated by your politics. So you would think a little bit of sensitivity would come to the table in these debates, but no. Montel Williams, while sitting across from Scott Jennings, decides to give this murderer not just a motive, but a beautiful, romantic, Jane Austen novel kind of motive.
Talking about a love-torn child, a kid. This is probably his first real relationship, and somebody was disparaging the person that he loved. He sat on that building for 30 minutes before he took the shot. Why did he wait until the first word trans came up? Then he took the shot.
You think he heard it? He could hear it?
I think he could hear it. I think he also, I don't believe he was motivated politically. I think this was motivated emotionally.
Guys, the evidence here is overwhelming. He said, Charlie Kirk, I can't stand this hate anymore. I'm going to take him out. The testimony from him and the statements of his family, he had become more left wing. He etched the statements that are made by the left about Republicans and conservatives and Charlie Kirk fascists on the bullet casings.
He made a joke about it in his last text.
Well, it doesn't sound like a joke to me because someone's dead and about to be buried.
Well,
So it doesn't
Those are
sound
two
like a
events.
joke to me.
Those are
I
two
mean-
events.
So I'm just telling you, there was an effort all weekend long on the left to try to make this guy sound like he was a conservative. That failed. That was passed around all over the weekend. That has now failed. The evidence has now come out. He was motivated by hate. He was motivated by left-wing radicalism. He got mixed up with some trans ideology in his life. We'll learn more about that, I'm sure, when more evidence and testimony comes out. We are looking around the edges of this for something other than what's staring us in the face. Left-wing radicalism got this kid. He went up to a roof and he murdered our friend, and that's what
Let me
happened.
just say,
Now, you can tell that Scott Jennings is starting to get a little angry, and understandable. I've shown you what his entire day has been like. And understand what Scott Jennings keeps doing. He just keeps coming back to the truth, to the facts, to the evidence here. And you're hearing every other kind of possible motive, including Montel Williams. This was just a lovesick guy who was he was just angry that somebody was insulting his love. And so just like Wuthering Heights and Heathcliff coming and trying to, seriously. So Scott Jennings starts to get a little angry. And then Montel Williams made a big mistake. He started to mock Scott Jennings for his passion. And, well, watch.
Please, for 1 second, understand that as we continue, Scott just got all angry, got real mad. Face it, it's got to be this, it's got to be this, it's got to be this. Why can't we have a discussion about how long is it going to take for us
Yeah,
to
by the way,
figure
I
out a way
am
to
angry.
come back
Just
together?
to be
Hold on a
clear,
second. Can
I
we-
am angry.
can we just let him finish?
I
his
am
thought,
angry.
Scott. I'll
I
let
know
you
Because
talk.
I knew it.
Scott,
I am
I'll
angry.
let you talk in just a second. Go ahead.
Could we spend as much time figuring out how we bridge this and come back together again? I used to have a note on my producer's desk when I did my show that was said, we don't belabor what happens. We try to figure out why it happens and come up with solutions. Right now, all we're doing is belaboring what happened over and over and over and over again. We're not going to sit down and try to figure out how do we stop it. If we
You
want to
got to go
stop
after
political violence,
left-wing terrorists. That's actually exactly the conversation we're having. Is we're acknowledging there's a problem.
so anybody who disagrees with
So
you is a
there's
left-wing terrorist.
Absolutely not. But if they target a conservative and murder him in brutal fashion,
Yeah,
he's
Montel,
probably
let me
a
answer-
left-wing
let
terrorist.
me answer your
Sure.
question.
Yes, that
You
person is a murderer.
said-
We can all acknowledge that.
You said I am angry, and I'm just telling. I am channeling the emotions of millions of conservatives who are angry. They knew Charlie. They loved Charlie. They viewed Charlie as a mainstream conservative Republican voice who talked about issues that millions of Americans believe. He also talked about his faith. And he did it by going to college campuses, which are not normally hospitable to conservatives, and offering his opponents a microphone to have what we always
In
say.
support of what? In
to have
support of what?
Civil
So it's
discourse.
Not only that, but support of the First Amendment.
And
He
guess
made
what?
sure
He-
that people had an opportunity
guess
to
what?
stand
He
in
was-
a room and talk.
he was murdered trying to do what we always say. Why don't we talk to each other? So yes, it's not even been a week. So you're going to have to give us a little grace on being angry about somebody who did what you always say that we should do. Let's
We-
talk.
We didn't
And he
get much
got killed.
grace over. Did
he
we
got
get more
killed.
than a week's grace over
So
two Michigan elected officials who were murdered?
Minnesota.
Did we give? Was it
Well-
3 weeks before we decided to say that there was something wrong with Speaker Pelosi's husband being hit in the head with a hammer?
by a homeless drug addict? I mean, it was terrible that happened. This is not the same kind of case.
Yeah, thank you, Newsbusters, for the clip. And I'm glad that Scott and most of us are no longer taking the bait on those straw man arguments. By the way, it was Minnesota, Montel, not Michigan. Thank you very much. And there's no equating those crimes, as you know. By the way, we shouldn't be too hard on Montel Williams because, I mean, I don't think he's got the best judgment in the world. Let's not forget, many years ago, he was shtupping Kamala Harris. And honestly, I don't see how any man could be the same after that. Something broke big time. And then this happened on CNN. Abby Phillip, as usual, with the chef's kiss.
I think it's representative of a large part of the left. And I say that because look at the reaction we have seen from the left. They are cheering. They are celebrating his death. You have outlets saying Charlie Kirk shouldn't have died, but he said some pretty hateful things, as if they're on some moral high ground to say
But I
that.
wonder,
That-
have you seen any evidence of any prominent mainstream Democrats doing what you just described,
There's a Democratic
celebrating-
state senator in Connecticut.
celebrating Charlie Kirk's death.
What's
Did
that
anybody
person's name?
I can't think
actually
of the name. It's called
celebrating?
You can't think of the name?
I saw it on Twitter yesterday.
Okay,
That
I
you
know what
can't
you're
think of the
talking.
name.
Hold on. I know what you're talking about because I've seen it too. He did not. In fact, he started that tweet saying that Charlie Kirk should not have been killed. So, do
And
you
then
have
gave a
any
caveat.
evidence of mainstream Democrats celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder?
It does not need to be a mainstream top dog Democrat when the majority of the comments online from the left have been celebratory or cheering on political murder.
Majority
How
of
do
the
you know it's a
comments-
Half
majority?
a million likes on a tweet is a lot of people. That is
Okay,
not
half
a
a
fringe
million
or an
out of
outskirt.
there's like 7 billion people on social media today.
Yeah.
Half a
And-
million
and ma- and
people.
about
I
half
can
of
have
people
a
on
million
social-
people.
Can I
About
ask
half
You
of
and
people
I
on
get
social
half a
media,
million.
by the way,
Yes.
are not even real people. So I do think we have to kind of,
But
the
can I-
internet is
I mean,
not real
Can I
life.
ask
is
though?
part of what this
Everybody
is,
here
right?
acknowledges that there have been thousands upon thousands of people, ordinary people, who have taken to social media to celebrate this. Yes or no?
I don't know about that.
You know,
I don't know.
I
And
think-
Scott,
I have high
Scott,
school friends who are.
You know,
Scott,
I
hold on a
think it is-
second. Hold
it
on.
is
I just think we
horrible.
should just, we got to be factual about this, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you know the scope. I don't know the scope. But I do think that we have to distinguish between random people in the world and something that is a dominant
Why?
issue.
Because the person who
well,
shot Charlie
it's
Kirk was a
random.
random
Hold
person
on.
in the world,
Well,
was
no.
he not?
Well, here's the thing. Here's
That's
the
the
thing.
danger.
There have
You
been-
dismiss the
there
random
have been
people of the world.
political-
They have
There
access
have been political
weapons
assassinations
and
in
hateful
this country.
motivations.
There
Well said, Scott Jennings, and that is the only way to shut down that line of. Well, prominent. I mean, Barack Obama hasn't celebrated. Barack Obama doesn't have to. He can stay above the fray and do this like he likes to do, because he knows that he's got his armies of brainwashed Obama bots out there who are going to do his bidding for him. That's the beauty of being a political leader. And again, I assure you, and we don't even have to be hypothetical about this. I assure you that over the course of the last 10 years, if anything, even the slightest thing happened that had fingerprints of a conservative, Trump-loving Republican on it, the reaction to random anonymous people celebrating whatever that action was would be fodder for cable news conversation. But now if you bring it up from the other perspective, oh, let's not go there. We can't quantify these things. There's no way to know for sure. It's just absolutely remarkable, the gaslighting that is going on here, that continues to go on here, as they're not just in denial, they are literally going out of their way to lie about this. Scott Jennings, by the way, after that exchange right there, where his colleagues on that panel refused to admit that thousands upon thousands, if not millions, of people on the left were celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk, he decided to take that clip that we just saw, and this morning he put it on his X account and said last night an entire table doubted the thousands of online celebrations of the left over Charlie Kirk's murder. Seems like folks need an education. Let's compile a long thread here so they're forced to see and accept the truth. We're looking at over 1,000 comments right now. Yeah, this guy. This guy slapping his neck and then mocking Charlie Kirk. Those are college students, by the way, in good standing. Not him anymore, by the way. He's been expelled. Just look, over 1,000 comments. And as I say, as I constantly say over and over and over again, the people who read teleprompters on CNN are not aware of the news. They don't follow the news. They don't know the news. They don't know that this is happening. They don't know, or choose not to know, or go out of their way to be willfully ignorant about what's really happening in our country. The fact that Abby Phillip and that panel could sit there and say, well, we don't know. You're overstating it. There aren't thousands of people celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder. Look at the replies here in just over the last hour. Just wait till this gains steam. I can keep scrolling and scrolling, but we've got more news to get to. But that was Scott Jennings' day yesterday. We love Scott Jennings. He's our friend. He's our colleague. Check out our interview with him from 2 weeks ago. It's right here on the channel. Let me just say, if you like Scott Jennings as much as we do, keep him in your prayers, because honestly, I don't know how he does it, and I don't think any of us could do what he does, and it's getting harder and harder. When inflation jumps and you hear the national debt is over $37 trillion, you ever think maybe now would be a good time to buy some gold? Whether as a hedge against inflation or just for sensible diversification, Birch Gold Group believes every American should own physical gold, and they want to make it easy for you. Until September 30th, if you're a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 in free metals on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, request an info kit now. Just text Larry to 989898. Plus, Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you're still eligible for a rebate and free metals of up to $10,000. Make right now the time for you to contact Birch Gold. Take advantage of a rebate of up to $10,000 when you buy by September 30th. Text my name, Larry, to 989898. That's Larry, 989898. Do it today. Yesterday was a big news day as the indictment of Charlie Kirk's assassin was rolled out in a courtroom in Utah. And there was a press conference from the district attorney there in Salt Lake City where he read out a whole lot of the evidence that they had. But if you were watching ABC News, well, the news was delivered in a very unique way, a troubling way. I'll let you see it and then we'll discuss. Take a look.
We have seen an alleged murder with such specific text messages about the alleged murder weapon, where it was hidden, how it was placed, what was on it, but also it was very touching in a way that I think many of us didn't expect. A very intimate portrait into this relationship between the suspect's roommate and the suspect himself, with him repeatedly calling his roommate, who is transitioning, calling him my love, and I want to protect you, my love. So it was this duality of someone who the attorney said not only jeopardized the life of Charlie Kirk and the crowd, but was doing it in front of children, which is one of the aggravating circumstances of this case. And on the other hand, he was, speaking so lovingly about his partner. So a very interesting and, as Pierre said, riveting press conference, David.
Wow, that was bizarre and terrifying. And by the way, most of it was a lie. Yeah, it was touching, romantic almost. The text message he's referring to are these text messages. Robinson, I'm still okay, my love, but I'm stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I come home. But I got to grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep the secret till I died of old age. I'm sorry to involve you. Roommate, you weren't the one who did it, right? Robinson, I am. I'm sorry. Roommate, I thought they caught the person. Robinson, no, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Roommate, why? Robinson, why did I do it? Roommate, yeah. Robinson, I had enough of this hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I'm able to grab my rifle unseen, I'll have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they've moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. Roommate, how long have you been planning this? Robinson, bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there's a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. Robinson, I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. I don't have I don't know if I'd had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Touching. Touching is how the ABC News correspondent described those text messages. Also, did you notice that he shows no remorse for murdering a 31-year-old father of two toddlers and leaving his wife a widow and traumatizing half of the planet with his violence? No, the only remorse he has and the only concern he has is over his grandpa's hunting rifle. He's really worried about his dad being angry about his grandpa's hunting rifle. The lack of morality is terrifying sometimes when you see it. But those are the text messages in question. And I want to play one more time how this ABC News correspondent, by the way, his name is Matt Gutman. Remember that name. I want you to hear how he described what I just read to you.
We have seen an alleged murder with such specific text messages about the alleged murder weapon, where it was hidden, how it was placed, what was on it, but also it was very touching in a way that I think many of us didn't expect. A very intimate portrait into this relationship between the suspect's roommate and the suspect himself, with him repeatedly calling his roommate who was transitioning calling him my love, and I want to protect you, my love. So it was this duality of
a duality, touching. I want to protect you, my love. Did you notice something there? Here, watch another report that he gave that was even more elaborate than that one, where he expanded on how personally touched and almost, well, emotionally affected by those text messages he was. And keep listening to exactly what he says and compare it to those text messages I just read.
So many levels, Kira. Obviously, Charlie Kirk was murdered brutally in front of a crowd of thousands of people who watched him being shot through the neck and then essentially bleed out in front of him. And I think one of the things that the attorney here made a very fine point about is that a lot of these charges, 7 charges, were aggravated because children were present. Children witnessed this. Children were put in harm's way. And that was something that obviously is aggravating here. And that's one of the reasons that the suspect, in addition to the alleged murder being political in nature, is facing the death penalty. They're going for the death penalty. And on the other hand, there is this duality of a portrait of a very human person, a very human experience from this entire family. As you mentioned it, the mother who essentially discovered that it was her son who had done this, the kid who had got a 34 out of 36 on the ACTs, who had a 4.0, who got a full ride to college here, that kid was the one who allegedly perpetrated. She saw those pictures and said, identified him essentially. And then those text messages. And I don't think I've ever experienced a press conference in which we've read text messages that are so fulsome, so robust, so apparently, allegedly self-incriminating, and yet on the other hand, so touching. Right, with the suspect reaching out to his roommate, who is allegedly his boyfriend, who we understand, identified as male at birth, now identifies as female, and the terminology he used. He was trying to protect him. He kept calling him my love. My reason for doing this is to protect you, but also asking him to delete the messages and not speak to law enforcement. So there's this heartbreaking duality that we're seeing very tragically playing out.
Yeah. All right. So you caught it. Did you catch it? I hope you caught it. Let me just read it back to you here. As allegedly his boyfriend, who identified as male at birth, now identifies as female, and the terminology he used, he was trying to protect him. He kept calling him my love. My reason for doing this is to protect you, but also asking him to delete the messages and not speak to law enforcement. Funny thing about Mr. Gutman's report there. I think I described it earlier that it reads like a romantic novel or something, that, Mr. Gutman was swept away by the romance of these two. Setting aside the murder in the background, Bonnie and Clyde, they had some murders too, but what a love story, right? Natural Born Killers, remember the Oliver Stone movie? But they were really in love. It was really just a love story. Sure, a little violence thrown in there. Here's the thing. Mr. Gutman is kind of writing his own romance novel here. This line, my reason for doing this is to protect you. By the way, that's an alibi. Or not an alibi, that's an excuse. That's sort of like a motive, right? That Mr. Gutman, the ABC News reporter, just quoted to all the viewers of ABC News as if it was news. And here's the problem. He never said that in any of the text messages. In any of the text messages, the ones I just read to you in the second page of the text messages, nowhere in there does he claim that he's trying to protect his gay lover. Nowhere. He made that up. He invented it. It was something that just formed in his own imagination. He was so taken away by the undying love of these two men. And sure, one of them's a murderer and the other one might be an accomplice or an accessory to the crime. But the love, he made it up. He just made it up. Today, he took to X and attempted to explain his behavior I'll report, you decide. Yesterday, I tried to underscore the jarring contrast between this cold-blooded assassination of Charlie Kirk, a man who dedicated his life to public dialogue, and the personal disturbing texts read aloud by the Utah County attorney at the press conference. Oh, I'm sorry. They're disturbing? You didn't describe them as disturbing yesterday in the heat of the moment. Oh, sure. Now that you've had 12 hours to work with the PR and defamation lawyers at ABC News and Disney, you've been able to come up with the word disturbing. But at the time when you were reporting, doing your job as a reporter, you didn't call them disturbing. You called them touching. How can they be disturbing and touching at the same time, Matt? I deeply regret that my words did not make that clear. People are calling this an apology. Do you hear an apology in here? Do you hear the words, I'm sorry? Do you hear the words, I was wrong? Do you hear, I don't know, apology in the apology? Let there be zero doubt, I unequivocally condemn this horrific crime and the pain it caused Charlie Kirk's family, those who were forced to witness it at UVU, and the millions of people he inspired. He never said he was sorry. He said, I deeply regret that my words did not make that clear. By the way, he's not even saying that he was wrong or that he made a mistake, or he doesn't even say that he could have chosen better words. He's just saying that he regrets the words he did choose didn't make it clear. Astounding. Did I mention ABC is owned by Disney? Disney Corporation, publicly held company. You might want to give them a ring. And ABC News on X is at ABC. Might want to let them know your thoughts about Matt Gutman's performance here and his ability to not apologize, even though he's now getting credit for an apology. I've even seen conservative commentators say, well, he apologized. No, that's not an apology. That's covering your ass. I have one other quick thing to say about this before we show you a great clip from Caitlin Collins and Ted Cruz last night. This sort of underscores the way the media is reporting this story. And I want to say this. This story, the way it's playing out right now, is a perfect example of how and why the media has lost all credibility and why you should not trust them. Because the way you're hearing words used to describe this murderer and his gay lover is incredibly enlightening. Just track it as you watch it on television or read it in a newspaper. They are bending over backwards and twisting themselves into pretzels to say anything other than the truth, the accurate description of these two men. This is a suspected murderer and his gay lover. But they don't call him that. They call him a roommate. Or they'll call him his friend. Or they'll call him his roommate who was transitioning and identifying as a woman, which is nonsense. He was a gay man who liked to dress in furry costumes and pretend that he was a girl for kinky reasons, okay? Now, if you don't want to be that explicit in your news reports, and I can understand why not, just say, this is a gay man and his accomplice is his lover. But they won't say that. Do you know why they won't say that? Do you know why they won't say that? Because they would hate to feed into the cultural misconception that a member of the LGBTQ community could be violent or could be a criminal. You see, they have warped themselves into believing that the suspected murderer isn't gay. If you actually said, is he gay? He says, no. Oh, really? Well, tell me something about, the sexual relationship and the romantic relationship he was in. Oh, well, it was with a transgender woman. Wait, hold on. With a what now? Well, there was some furry stuff going on there too. Okay. So he was in a sexual romantic relationship with a human being who has a penis, right? And they engaged in romantic, intimate activities, both of these human beings, and they both have penises, right? That's homosexuality. Now, because one of them decides to dress up in funny costumes doesn't change the fact that these are two homosexuals. And they can't say it. They refuse to say it, not because it's not true, and not because it's not factual, and not because it's not part of the story. They refuse to say it for politics. They refuse to say it because of their woke ideology and because they're under the thumb of the speech police, either in their corporate boardroom or they're worried about human rights campaign. We don't care about that here. We'll tell you the truth. Here's the bottom line. As long as these reporters and these teleprompter readers and these media companies try to convince you that a man can be pregnant and trans women are women, you can't believe a thing they say, nor should you. Unless you are getting your news and information from an outlet or a person or a streaming show like this one or a podcast where the host will sit and look you in the eye, respect you enough to say trans women are men. Unless they're doing that, you shouldn't trust them. They don't deserve your trust. And it is a remarkable thing to witness. He's a roommate. He's a friend. They're gamer buddies. No, he's his gay lover. He's a gay man. He's got a gay lover who likes to dress up. And he murdered Charlie Kirk because he's filled with hate. Left-wing political hate. Those are facts, undeniable facts. And people who make millions of dollars and call themselves journalists refuse to tell you that. But I will tell you. You deserve the truth. How bad is the gaslighting? Take a look at CNN last night. Caitlin Collins, who started out her journalism career at the Daily Caller, hired by Tucker Carlson, and Vince Coglianese was her editor-in-chief. And boy, she's come a long way. Here's Caitlin Collins trying to gaslight her audience, claiming we don't really know the motive and we don't know what happened here and we don't know why this occurred. But Ted Cruz, thankfully, was on set with her. And Ted Cruz let the audience know the truth.
And we don't have a motive yet. We don't know yet. We're waiting. Obviously, we've heard what the governor's had to say, what the FBI director said today.
Come on, we don't have a motive yet.
We know.
We don't have a motive yet.
What's
really?
happening with?
Really, that's CNN's position.
I mean, from law enforcement,
he just happened
Senator.
to fire the gun in celebration. You can't tell the motive.
Senator, that's not what I said. And I said law enforcement hasn't laid out a direct motive. They've laid out a lot of evidence here of these messages and what
actually
the
they
shooter
have.
said
They
to
said that
family
he was a
members
left-wing
and to
activist who hated
roommates.
Charlie Kirk. Pardon?
Senator, with all due respect, you know exactly what I'm saying. I'm not arguing with you politically. I'm saying that law enforcement has not put a specific motive. You know that there's a difference of what they're putting in a legal argument than what you're talking about. And you're not even, we're not even arguing about the facts here.
What you just said is false,
Senator,
Caitlin.
No.
Caitlin, facts. Hold on a second. Let me answer your statement because what you said is factually
Senator, with
false.
all due respect,
law enforcement.
With all due respect, you're putting a lot of
Okay,
statements
go ahead.
that I did not say. And I want to get back to, we just laid out the facts.
You
in the
just
opening
said
of the
law
show,
enforcement has
what we learned
not
from
laid out a motive.
prosecutors
That
today.
is
And we just spoke
objectively
to the
false.
Deputy Attorney General.
That
So
is
the-
objectively false.
They
What
have not
you are
said a
saying is
concrete motive of
objectively
exactly
false,
what it was.
and
They've laid out
CNN should
every
not be
evidence that we
engaged in
know
this
so far.
information.
By the way, I'm going to pick this up right where we left off. It's a minute 18 into this clip. But do you know what she's saying? Now, do you see what she's done? I love showing you the pivot they make. She's now saying, Senator, all I said was that law enforcement has not laid out a concrete motive. Wow, those are a lot of modifiers there. Law enforcement hasn't laid out a concrete motive. Caitlin Collins claims now, a minute into this exchange with Senator Cruz, because Senator Cruz didn't let her get away with the lie. That's what she claims she said. But no, see, we have the tape. In fact, we're watching the tape as we speak. And that's not what she said. Here's what she said.
And we don't have a motive yet. We don't know yet. We're waiting. Obviously,
we don't have a motive. We don't know yet. Boy, that's a far cry from law enforcement hasn't laid out a concrete motive yet. But of course we have a motive. Of course we know. Law enforcement said very specifically what happened here. Okay, so I'll pick it right back up where I left off.
Should not be
evidence that we
engaged in
know so far.
misinformation. Caitlin, answer my question.
not
Have you seen the
misinformation,
polling
Senator.
that shows
You-
the vast majority of
you were
Democrats
taking what I
believe
said,
this murderer is a
about
Republican and a
that.
Trump supporter? Have you seen that polling?
Let me get back to my questions, though, Senator, because the question here
You're not going to answer that
was
question?
actually
Are you going to answer
what
that
you were
question?
saying
You
about
have seen that
investigations
polling.
that you'd like to see.
So you're not going to
Senator,
answer the
I'm the
question.
one asking the questions here, and the question.
No,
about
we're having a
you saying that
conversation. I
right-wing or
understand
left-wing
that
groups need
you
to be
want to
investigated
say
for
things
where
that
the
are
financing
factually
is
false,
coming.
and then you
Do
don't
you believe
actually
that
want the
right-wing
facts.
groups also
You don't
need to be
actually want the facts
investigated?
laid out. Okay, give your speech.
That's not true, Senator. I'm asking you a
tell me-
question.
Go ahead. I don't know what your question is because we have
You
a
said that
delay
you
because you're in
believe
England,
that-
so I can't hear what you're saying.
You said that you believe that left-wing groups should be investigated. You want to know where the financing is coming from for protests. Do you believe that they should also
Yes.
be looking into right-wing groups as well, or do you believe it should only be limited to that?
Look, I believe anyone engaged in acts of violence should be prosecuted and go to jail. But I will say there has been an enormous amount, and CNN has been guilty of this, of both sidesism, of saying, gosh, both sides are violent. And understand, yes, there is some violence on both sides, but it is the left that overwhelmingly celebrates this. It is leftists that have been celebrating. You look at Blue Sky, and it is a cesspool of leftists celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk. You look at recent polling that shows over 50% of Democrats saying violence against Elon Musk is justified. Violence against Donald Trump is justified. You look at Democrats who do things like what Kamala Harris did of giving money and urging people to give money to bail out violent rioters and Antifa riots. It is only one side that justifies this violence. My view is if you commit acts of violence, you should be prosecuted. And so, yes, we should follow the money. Anyone funding acts of violence, we should
But
go
Senator,
after. But this is
I
a
think-
left-wing problem.
Well done, Senator Cruz. That's how you do it. And Caitlin Collins, you should really go back to your good old days of writing puff pieces in the Daily Caller. You were more honest then and, frankly, more professional. And one other note, CNN, you can't have it both ways. If you want your star primetime host to follow the president over to London and report from London and do her show from London, great. Go ahead and do your London show about Trump in London. But then don't bring a politician on via satellite and try to engage in some kind of debate with them when you know you're going to have a 3-second satellite delay. This show suddenly has more production value than CNN displayed in their primetime lineup, and I assure you their budget is a little bit bigger than ours. All right, Kash Patel yesterday on Capitol Hill. Let's go. Kash Patel was absolutely on fire yesterday during a Senate hearing. He was ready because he knew they were going to go all over him. We're going to show you some of the best stuff with Mazie Hirono, the president of the Mensa Club there in the Senate, and also Adam Schiff. But we're going to start with Cory Booker. Cory Booker didn't get as many headlines, but he was probably the most insulting and odious and demeaning and despicable senator yesterday. And that's saying something, questioning Kash Patel. And Kash, I think, may have caught Cory Booker admitting to participating in a federal crime. I'll show you that clip in a sec. But first, here's how it started with the fine senator from New Jersey.
Mr. Patel, in just 8 months, you have assaulted the institutional integrity of the FBI. But I know FBI field agents. I've worked with them in Newark. No matter how truly bad you are, you can't undermine the legacy of agents who fight every day to keep us safe, but you can tarnish the integrity of the agency and undermine the agency's capacity. I believe you're failing as a leader, and that your failure does have serious implications for the safety and security of Americans and our families. We're more vulnerable to domestic and foreign attack because of your failures of leadership. I don't think you're fit to hand the bureau, but here's the thing, Mr. Patel. I think you're not going to be around long. I think this might be your last oversight hearing. Because as much as you supplicate yourself to the will of Donald Trump and not the Constitution of the United States of America, Donald Trump has shown us in his first term and in this term, he is not loyal to people like you. He will cut you loose. This may be the last time I have a hearing with you because I don't think you're long for your job. But I'm going to tell you this. I pray for you. I pray for you that you can step up and defend your oath, defend the Constitution, and do a much better job of defending this country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do you want to say anything?
Yes,
at
sir.
this point?
That rant of false information does not bring this country together. If you want to work on bringing this country, it's my time, not yours.
My God.
If
You're
you
gonna
want to
lecture
talk
me
about
dividing this country,
it is
I
my
follow
time.
you on your social media posts that
It is
tear
my
this country
time
apart.
to
There
address
should be a
your
unifying-
falsehoods.
Oh,
You are an
you can try
embarrassment
all
to the
you
division
want
in this
to
country.
not take
Senator,
it is
responsibility
my time.
for what
You
you
had
have
your
said.
time.
Sir, you're
Your
making a
time is
mockery of this
over.
committee. Sir, you don't tell me my time is over.
You
The
know how
people
far
of New
we've
Jersey
come
tell me
since
what
you
my
tell-
time is.
Senator,
You can't lecture me.
You can tell me
Sir,
my time's over?
You may be the target of
I'm not
FBI,
going anywhere.
but I am not afraid of you. sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Not afraid of you.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Senator Booker, I announced at the beginning of this meeting that this back and forth talking over each other doesn't work. And I said, if that happened, I asked Patel not to respond, and I was going to give him some time after the senator's time was up to respond. And he has the privilege to do that uninterrupted.
Mr.
So
Chairman,
go,
one point of
go
order.
ahead, Mr.
I've
Patel.
watched him talk over us, and you've never once criticized him for us not even being able to get our questions out.
Well,
Point of order. Point of order. Point of order. Cory Booker is a whiny little bit. All right, proceed.
He has been rude and disrespectful to senator after senator.
And when the senators were not giving him a chance to answer, I didn't stop the senator either. Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If the FBI, under my 7-month leadership, were failing this administration in this country, why do we have 23,000 violent felons arrested this year alone? A double increase from that time last year. Why is it that we have seized 6,000 weapons? Why have we found 1,500 child predators and arrested them? Why have we 300 human traffickers in jail? Why have we found and identified 4,700 children? Why have we seized 1,600 kilograms of fentanyl in enough to kill a third of the American public, a 25% increase alone from last year, 88,000 kilograms of cocaine seized, 7,000 kilograms of meth seized, and that's just on our criminal operations in summer heat. How is it possible that we're taking 8 kilograms off the streets of the cities in New Jersey and preventing the deaths of 607,000 people this year alone, a failure of the FBI and my leadership? How is it that we have counterintelligence arrests already this year exceeding the numbers from the entirety of last year? 33% increase in PRC, 83% in Russia, 60% in the CI space as it relates to Iran. And we haven't even talked about CT, the southern border, the northern border.
Amen. Drop the mic, Kash Patel. That's what I voted for, times 10. That was a beautiful thing. But something happened right before this during the questioning when Cory Booker was trying to execute some sort of gotcha moment about Kash Patel's grand jury testimony as it related to the Mar-a-Lago documents case, right? Kash Patel was asked to testify in the investigation of Donald Trump having documents down at Mar-a-Lago, claiming that they were classified top secret documents that Donald Trump shouldn't have had. But of course, as everybody knows, grand jury testimony is sealed. It's secret. And Cory Booker may have, in this clip you're about to see, may have admitted to participating in federal crime. The federal crime related to the release or exposure of grand jury testimony. Now, Cory Booker tries to get Kash Patel to reveal his own testimony, which would not be against the law. Any person who testifies for a grand jury can then go out and say, here's what I told the grand jury. But in trying to get Kash Patel to do that, he appears to reveal that he already knows what that testimony was. And if somebody told him, well, that would be a crime. Now, watch for yourself, and then we'll discuss.
To what you said before the grand jury.
To whatever was released. Under my understanding, Senator, that the Department of Justice
You and I both
released...
understand the law. Let me finish. I understand under Rule 6 of the Federal Rules of Procedure, a grand jury witness, in this case you, is not barred from sharing their grand jury testimony. This is an oversight hearing. This is germane to your integrity and credibility. You know right now whether or not you testified that President Trump declassified the documents at issue in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. Why are you refusing to answer that simple yes or no question right now?
Because the premise of your question is inaccurate, and
There is no premise to my question, but trying to get to an order of what is truth or not.
How do you How do you know what was asked in the grand jury if you weren't there?
Mr. Patel, this is a mockery you're making of this hearing and simple questions.
It's a simple question. If you have
Mr.
a
Patel,
transcript,
during
you can
your
read the question,
nomination,
but you don't have it.
You promised that, quote, all FBI employees.
All right. That was the exchange there. Did you see it? Well, Kash Patel said, hold on. Because Cory Booker was saying, did you say this before the grand jury? And Kash Patel decided not to comment on it. He doesn't have to. And Cory Booker thought he had a gotcha. It's like, well, why won't you say it? Why won't you say it? And then Kash just sort of, you can see like a little light bulb goes off like at Cash's face. He's like, wait a second. How do you know what I said before the grand jury?
Because the premise of your question is inaccurate. And
There is no premise to my question, but trying to get to an order of what is truth or not.
How do you How do you know what was asked in the grand jury if you weren't there?
Mr. Patel, this is a mockery you're making of this hearing and simple questions.
It's a simple question. If you have
Mr.
a
Patel,
transcript,
during
you can
your
read the
nomination.
question.
How indeed does Cory Booker know what was asked in the grand jury proceedings if he wasn't there? The only way he would know that is if somebody told him. And if somebody told him, that would be a violation of federal law. And by the way, the only entity that has that information and would have been able to tell Cory Booker would be somebody who worked in Merrick Garland and Joe Biden's Justice Department. Or perhaps a fellow senator, or maybe a former congressman who is now a senator, who got the information from somebody in the Justice Department. Now, is there a former congressman who's now a senator who would deal with some sort of violation of federal laws to try to get Donald Trump and Kash Patel? Oh, there's this guy. Understand that Adam Schiff and Kash Patel go way back. 10 years ago, when Devin Noonan was the chairman of the House Select Committee on Intelligence, Adam Schiff was the ranking member, the top Democrat on that committee. Kash Patel, he was the lead counsel for Chairman Nunes. It was in that capacity, along with Chairman Nunes, that they uncovered all of the lies and all of the corruption of Russiagate. Now, Kash Patel is the FBI director, and Adam Schiff is a senator from California. I think that's all the setup you need. Take it away, gentlemen.
Believe that? Do you think they're stupid?
No, I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of
you're
inmates.
not in the weeds?
What I am doing is protecting this country, providing historic reform, and combating the weaponization of intelligence by the likes of you. And we have countlessly proven you to be a liar in Russiagate, in January 6th. You are the biggest fraud to ever sit in the United States Senate. You are a disgrace to this institution and an utter coward.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised that you continue to lie from your perch and put on a show so you can go raise money for your charade. You are a political buffoon at best.
Well, you can take an internet troll.
Take it to the bank that the FBI is protecting this country and the state and citizens of California. We are bringing historic reform.
Point of order.
But all you care about is a child sex predator that was prosecuted by a prior administration, and the Obama Justice Department and the Biden Justice Department did squat. And what did President Trump do? Bring new charges courageously. And what have we done?
Chairman,
you said I'm the most transparent FBI director in history. 33,000 pages of information to you. I challenge you to say anything credibly to the truth. Go ahead and run to the cameras where you want to go now.
Both of you be quiet.
All right. I don't know if this is physically or chemically possible, but I want to take that video clip. I want to somehow make it a material substance and melt it down into a liquid form so that I can put it into a hypodermic needle syringe and inject that into my veins every single day. How awesome was that? How great was that? That's what I voted for. Right there, that's what I voted for. I want Kash Patel to move to California and run against Adam Schiff, but I wouldn't wish that on him. By the way, you also heard a voice there thundering, and you always hear this whenever you know that a Democrat is in trouble in moments like this, and they're getting owned, and they're about to go viral on lots of podcasts like this. You then hear another senator jumping in and yelling, "Mr. Chairman, you have to take control of this. You have to take control. This. They're trying to throw a lifeline. They're trying to save the sinking ship. That voice you heard was Dick Durbin's. We'll get to Dick in a minute. But the Mensa meeting continued there for the Democrats. Boy, you talk about the buffoons they've got on their side. You start with Cory Booker, you move to Adam Schiff, and now you got this woman, the president of the Democrats' Mensa Club there in the Senate, Mazie Hirono. Now, it's easy to say that Mazie Hirono is dumb. And by the way, I don't think she is. I want you to know that Mazie Hirono is not dumb. For all I know, she's got great wisdom and great intelligence. But here's the problem. When you're on the left and you have to somehow contort basic logic, basic human instinct, basic biology, and just regular everyday know-how and wisdom, you have to set all of that aside to be able to adhere to the woke activist talking points that are forced upon you to be a left-wing Democrat, which she is. So I want you to watch this moment here, because it only makes sense if you recognize the fact that she could be the smartest person in the room, but because she has to adhere to the woke left ideology and the mandates from the activist groups that pull the strings for this party, she has forced herself to sound like a moron. Now I've set it up for you. Let's watch.
Move on to my, you've been asked some questions about changes to your hiring standard, and including college degrees and possibly the age. But, one question I had is, that you are now requiring applicants to be able to do a certain kind of pull-ups, which a lot of women cannot because of physiological differences. Are you requiring these kinds of pull-ups?
We are requiring a physical program at BFTC at Quantico because FBI agents carrying guns in the field have to chase down bad guys and do really hard work. The physical fitness standards of those agents
So
are
are you requiring these kinds of pull-ups?
We are requiring everybody to pass the 1811 standards at BFTC. If you want to chase down a bad guy and put him in handcuffs, you better be able to do a pull-up.
The reason I ask is that there are concerns about whether or not being able to do these kinds of harsh pull-ups is really required of FBI agents.
Doing
Anyway,
one pull-up
Mr.
is not
Patel,
harsh,
I
and there are
am
always
greatly
medical
concerned.
exemptions to that.
All right. So I understand. To be a woke left-wing Democrat, you need to confront the director of the FBI and challenge the policy of having a physical fitness test for FBI agents, because that would discriminate against women, because women are incapable of doing a pull-up, which, by the way, women are not incapable of doing pull-ups. I lived near the United States Naval Academy. I sponsor many midshipmen. Many of them are women, and they can kick my ass. All right, that's not saying a whole lot. But I assure you, the women in the military and the Naval Academy, et cetera, they can do pull-ups. So Mazie Hirono, see, to make this case, to have to suggest that the FBI is discriminating against women because they are asking women to pass a basic physical fitness standard test, that's not stupid. That's being on the left. It ain't stupid. It's woke. And being woke makes you sound stupid. However, you, if you have a keen eye, may have noticed a bit of a cognitive dissonance here with woke left-wing ideology and activism playing out right before your very eyes. You see, this is the other great thing about being on the left. you have to simultaneously maintain that asking a woman to do a pull-up is discriminatory against women and the FBI should lower their standards. And at the same time, you must allow for men to compete in women's sports because there is no physiological difference between men and women. You have to hold both of those positions at the same time if you're Mazie Hirono. So it's no wonder that people like her sound stupid. Senator Katie Britt of Alabama was sitting at the hearing, and she picked up on this. Dare I say she seized on it. Actually, she pounced.
Before I begin, I want to thank Senator Hirono for what she said, acknowledging that there are physical differences between men and women. Talking about that women wouldn't be able to do as many pull-ups, and I think that she was making a case here that there should be different standards. There's a thing called Title IX, and this is why we continue to say we should have biological men and men's sports and biological women and women's sports. And so I look forward to utilizing that to talk to all of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. Maybe they will stand with us in helping us protect women's sports. I think she made a great argument there for it.
Beautiful job. Well done, Senator Britt. And finally, I mentioned the aptly named Dick Durbin. There's no truth, by the way, to the rumor that his campaign slogan was Dick Durbin before he dicks you. It's possible, but I don't think that's true. Dick Durbin was asking why Kash Patel had not signed a document, a memo relating to the Epstein case, and Kash Patel had a pretty good response.
Nothing came of that review until July, when DOJ and FBI released an unsigned memorandum stating there is no incriminating client list. Why was this July 7th memorandum unsigned?
Would you prefer I've used AutoPen?
I say again, that's what I voted for. Kash Patel. That's Kash Patel yesterday at the Senate hearings. And I'll give you a sneak preview to tomorrow's show because Kash Patel is on the Hill right now with a round of House hearings. Would you like to see a little bit? All right, I've got two quickies for you. First, here's Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal.
You Victims credibly came forward, and you know what happened? President Trump authorized the indictments of Jeffrey Epstein, not Biden, not Obama,
President Trump
no one else.
called the entire thing a Democratic hoax. So I would like to ask
the gentlelady's time has expired. I gave her the additional 45 seconds she requested. The gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from New Jersey is recognized for his 5 minutes.
If you would meet with the women who were sexually abused and raped and groomed at the ages of 14 and 16 years old. Are you going to cover up? Are you going to continue to cover up for the rich and powerful men, including those that might be on this committee?
I can yell too, Mr. Chairman. I don't want to yell above this. The time belongs to the gentleman from New Jersey. I appreciate the gentlelady yielding back.
Are you going to allow them to testify, Mr. Patel?
Go ahead.
Will you allow them to testify to you, Mr. Patel?
Mr. Patel, thank you for being here. I know it's been an interesting.
Chairman Jim Jordan is a saint and way more professional than I would have been in that setting. We love Jim Jordan. Good for him. And did you notice Congresswoman Jayapal just there, I believe, accused all of her colleagues in the House of being clients of Jeffrey Epstein and guilty of a cover-up. Just another sane day with Democrats on Capitol Hill. And of course, it's not the circus if you don't have a clown. So here comes Eric Swalwell.
20 of those individuals have been investigated or have had adverse actions. Director, considering that you have identified these people as, quote, government gangsters, will you recuse yourself from making any investigation decisions about these individuals?
Anyone that has been terminated at the FBI has been done.
No, the question again.
Failed to meet the muster in their constitutional obligation.
I will work on the audio-visual capabilities.
I'm going to borrow your terminology and call bullshit on your entire career in Congress.
I'm reclaiming my time,
It's been a disgrace to the American people.
I'm reclaiming my time.
You can reclaim your time all you want.
Mr. Chairman, you're going to allow a witness to speak this way?
Mr. Chairman, would you
recuse yourself?
The gentleman has no time.
Mr. Chairman, would you admonish the witness not to insult members?
Gentlemen.
God, that felt good. And yet I think Chairman Jordan enjoyed it too. That just happened about 30 minutes ago on Capitol Hill after our show began. And no doubt we'll have much more tomorrow with Kash Patel meeting members of Congress on Capitol Hill. We'll make sure we deliver to you. Make sure you join us tomorrow for it. And that's it for today's show. Thank you guys so much for watching. And thank you again to our brand new sponsor. I hope you noticed. Lean Weight Loss from Brick House Nutrition. Check it out. Getlean.com. All right. Like and subscribe our video today, please. As we continue to grow our audience. It's great to have you guys part of our community. And we've got some super chats we want to get to. $5 from Arthur Brogdon over on Rumble says, speaking as an empty nest widower owner of 3 large dogs, chop blocks are a thing. Are you criticizing my take on the Kansas City Chiefs and the way they are protected by the referee corps? Is that what that is? Chop blocks and dogs. All right. Thank you for that, Arthur. I think that's what he was doing. Chop blocks. Stumble Boots with a $2 super chat. Oh, hold on, Stumble Boots. You too. Thank you. A little prop. I had a little prop for Stumble Boots. Did you like that? Well, that brought a little prop to the table. $5 Australian dollars from Paul Rust. Oh, mate. Now, don't you hate it when people do that? I can't believe I did that to you. I apologize. That's terrible. Larry cures death. Doctor said, if I'm good enough to watch Larry, I'm good enough to go home. Long live the elephant. Good Lord. Well, I'm glad you're healing up, and you're welcome. You're welcome. You know, it's true. I will actually save you from death if you watch the show on a regular basis. Thank you, Paul. At least death from boredom. Angela with a $5 super chat. 1 week ago, we were robbed of our Jesus follower, patriot brother Charlie. Left-wing lamestream mediacrats should be accomplices of the assassin. Thank you for that, Angela. Thank you. I know it was 1 week ago today. Good Lord. Breezy with a cute little baby penguin. $5 super chat. I don't know where that voice came from. Larry, thanks for always knowing what you're talking about. I love your show. Hi, Kevin. It's funny. People always say, oh, gosh, you know so much about these things. I get that a lot on my radio show, too. But see, we always have a little secret formula to make sure that the host always sounds like he knows what he's talking about. And that's this. I only choose subjects to talk about that I know about. Colleen Daly with a $5 super chat, but she has nothing to say. She said, you know what? I rendered Colleen speechless. That happens a lot. Thanks, Colleen. I appreciate it. God's best friend is in the mix with a £2 super chat. Too many trans humans. Yeah. By the way, that rant I just went off on earlier about how they refuse to acknowledge that this is a homosexual relationship between a man and his lover. And they're using all these roommate euphemisms. I wrote about that. I have a column today at my Larry VIP Substack, larryvip.com. If you want to get those musings every day, it's free in your inbox. Thank you, God's best friend. Patrick, £5. Patel Bongino, too much credit hogging, too much telling us how amazing they think they are. Too many empty promises, too many mistakes. You're entitled to your opinion, Patrick. And I understand there's a lot of criticisms of them right now, and I get it. I do. We were highlighting Kash Patel today, and I think he's been doing a pretty great job, actually. But I hear you. I do. And you're entitled to your opinion. Thanks, Patrick, for the super chat. God's best friend, £2 super chat. Chuck Schumer insults his member. Didn't see that coming. Thank you for that. All right. Is that it? Are we good, Kevin? How are you doing, Kevin? You all right?
Yeah, I'm a little under the weather, so everyone pray for me.
Kevin's a little sick. Let's keep him in your prayers, please. Did you like that I added a couple of those house clips today at the end there? You didn't see that coming. Kevin likes it when I mix up the show on him.
Yeah, it was great.
You're angry. You don't like that I put some house clips in there.
No, you're right. I didn't see it coming at all.
That bother you?
Not.
What was the other clip that I surprised you with? Were you keeping track?
Oh gosh, what was it?
Kevin lays out the clip,
I know.
And then I asked to do it in audio.
Was it Katie Britt?
Katie Britt. That's right. You didn't know the Katie Britt one was there.
I do pay
attention to the show, and I appreciate it, even when you're sick and loaded up with NyQuil. Ooh, look who's calling me. It's Scam Likely. All right. All right. I think we're good. I think we're done. We'll be back tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Thursday? Ooh, we've got a special edition of the show with Chris DeGaulle joining us tomorrow on a Rare Thursday episode. So make sure you tune in for that. And don't forget that we've got an early start on Friday. Wait for that. Check it out. It'll be before noon or earlier in the day. And I'm filling in for Mark Levin tonight, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern. If you like your talk radio Levin style, tune in tonight. I'll be doing that tonight at 6 p.m., filling in for the great one, Mark Levin. That's it. That's all I got. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. My name's Larry O'Connor. You can call me Larry.